All right, so after that story, it's important to understand the Supreme Court and the players in this row that is threatening the constitutionalism of the country. First of all, it's just important to understand that the Supreme Court is charged with the interpretation of the Constitution and has exclusive original jurisdiction to hear and determine disputes relating to the elections of the office of the President, which is why everybody's hoping that this row will be resolved before 2017 should there be an election petition arising from that election. But let's understand the members of the Supreme Court of Kenya, and it starts off with the man who's at the helm. That's Dr. Willy Mutunga, Justice Dr. Willy Mutunga, who is the Chief Justice and also the head of the President of the Supreme Court. The others in there are 7 of them. Lady Justice Kalpana Rawal, who's the Deputy Chief Justice and also the Vice President of the Supreme Court of Kenya. They are then joined by the other 5 Supreme Court judges, and they are Lady Justice Njoki Ndungu. We also have Justice Professor J.B. Ojwang, recently feted, by the way. He's been doing quite a bit of study in the field of law for the last 20-odd years. Also, Dr. Philip Tunoi, who's also one of those, and he's at the center of this retirement row, him together with Lady Justice Kalpana. The other 2 members, we have Justice Mohammed Ibrahim, as well as Justice Dr. Smokin Wanjala, who's also on the JSC, that's the Judicial Service Commission. Now, the drama all began when the JSC gave Justice Kalpana Rawal notice of her impending retirement next year, and then proceeded to have the process started to replace her. Now, of course, she went to court, and they were looking at Article 167(1) of the Constitution that says a judge shall retire from office on attaining the age of 70, but may elect to retire at any time after attaining the age of 65. Now, this is the crux of the matter right here, as we'll be telling you, with Justice Kalpana Rawal saying, no, she would like to retire at the age of 74. So, of course, she, together with Justice Philip Tunoi, went to court seeking to stop this process. Apparently, it's being said that the judges agreed to retire at the age of 74, but the JSC insists this part of the Constitution should be followed and that the judges should retire at the age of 70. So, of course, we move on then to the next one, where we're talking about Justices Kalpana Rawal and Philip Tunoi filing a case challenging their retirement. If we can move to the next one. Now, let's take a look at this timeline then, shall we? On the 15th of September 2015, they of course filed that case challenging their retirement, but this is also the date, I think, that goes before. But on this date, Justices Njoki Ndungu, Mohammed Ibrahim, Jackton Ojwang went on a go-slow in solidarity with these 2 individuals, and this came just a day after they had filed that case in court. Now, a day after that, September 16, 2015, lawyers threatened to boycott courts that were presided over by judges who refused to retire at the age of 70. That was a strongly worded statement by the chair of the Law Society of Kenya, Eric Mutua. Now, that went on, and of course, as Michelle Ngelo talked about, that played out in that Supreme Court ruling with the election of the senator today. But let me take you to now what happened this month. Now, Apollo Mboya, who's the Chief Executive Officer of the Law Society of Kenya, then petitioned the JSC for the removal of the 3 Supreme Court judges for their go-slow. They expressed concern that the judges' decision to contest their retirement will, of course, likely cause a constitutional crisis. Now, if the JSC accepts Apollo Mboya's petition, the JSC then forwards it to the President, Uhuru Kenyatta, who will, within 14 days, suspend tribunal to investigate them. Now, what is interesting about the 3 judges already taking a side is this is what happens with the Supreme Court. For it to be fully constituted, they should have at least 5 judges. As of now, we don't have all the 7 who will be able to sit. It's just the 5 because Philip Tunoi and Kalpana Rawal are no longer, they're no longer sitting. So we have the 5 Supreme Court judges. So this is the question that many are asking. Should that case that's being heard in a lower court come to the Supreme Court? How will the 5 judges hear it, considering that 3 of them have already taken a position on the matter in question, and that is the retirement age of judges at 70. Here's also another question to think about. Even though they're saying that under the previous constitution they were supposed to retire at the age of 74, and now it's 70, many say, well, the Supreme Court did not exist pre-2010? So those are some of the questions that will be asked, and we wait to see how this plays out with that petition from the LSK to the Judicial Service Commission.